The One Piece is not what you think it is. Whatever you're thinking about right now, you are wrong. And if you're thinking about nothing, then you're doubly wrong, because it is indeed something. But what is that something, and why isn't it the thing that you're thinking? All of these questions and more will be answered on this week's episode of Guy Makes Fun Videos About Fictional Pirates. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam, I am the aforementioned Guy, and this is the video. So the most important reason why the One Piece is not what you think it is because the One Piece and the treasure found at Laugh Tale are kind of actually two different things. There's this very interesting line in chapter 968, which is after the Roger Pirates left Laugh Tale and our mustached monarch was crowned the Pirate King, where it stated that the world at large referred to everything that Roger gained as the One Piece, which is quite enlighteningly vague, because whoever came up with the term One Piece was not referring to a treasure on Laugh Tale. It was created to encompass everything that Roger possessed, which can be quantified as the classic wealth, fame, power trio of elements. So weirdly enough, the idea of the One Piece existed before Roger's execution, a whole year before it actually, but it was only after the execution that the term One Piece became conflated, mixing the treasure of Laugh Tale with whatever the general public thought that Roger had gathered. Now, to be fair, this confusion was all part of Roger's grand plan. He took the idea of the One Piece and tied it to Laugh Tale with his final ingenious words. But now that, for all intents and purposes, we do actually know what the One Piece is, that does still leave the lingering question, what was the treasure at Laugh Tale? And we're actually a lot closer to having that answer than you may think. Before we get into it though, just to note, this video is part of September, where for the entire month of September, every time someone subscribes to this channel, we will be donating 10 cents to Make-A-Wish Australia, a group who work to grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illness. One Piece is all about dreams, and we have the power to make some real-life dreams come true, so I think we should. There's also a link in the description to our fundraising page if you'd like to donate directly, and furthermore, please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the Grand Fleet. Welcome. Alright, so we're going to make a list of everything that we know the One Piece is, and it's actually a lot of things. Firstly, we know that it is going to be some sort of tangible reward, and this information comes straight from the mouth hole of Eiichiro Oda, who in 2014 was actually very directly asked what the One Piece is, and the interviewer in question brought up the suggestion that perhaps it's something like the growth of one's heart over the course of the journey to get there, you know, the stuff like that. Another way of putting that might be the friends we made along the way. But Oda went on to shut down that train of thought entirely with the following answer. Haha, no. I won't be pulling some kind of Wizard of Oz thing like that. After having gone through an adventure like that, it wouldn't be fair not to actually give them a reward. So the very first thing we know for a fact about the treasure on Laugh Tale is that it will be some kind of reward, something of tangible value worth finding. And this is very much echoed in the words of all that refer to it. Roger, for example, very famously refers to it as a treasure, which may have been done to entice people to go out and go find it. However, even privately, this terminology is used. As in the Journal of Kozuki Oden, he quite specifically labels it as a vast treasure, which is something else to add to our One Piece checklist. Not only does it present tangible value, but that value is huge, immense, and potentially even immeasurable in nature. However, next up we have a bit of a big twist thing for this here treasure, because in addition to being vastly valuable, we also know that it is incredibly time sensitive. Whatever the Laugh Tale treasure was, the Roger Pirates were not able to make use of it. After discovering every secret in this world, Roger made the claim that no man ever wants to admit to, stating that he was just too early. And this is an idea that's also heavily reinforced by other hinted details in the series, such as during the Sabaody arc with Rayleigh's words to Robin. Even if I told you everything in history right now, there is nothing you could do about it. It seems that those at O'Hara were too hasty. So at that point, around 2 years ago, even if we knew what that treasure was, it would have amounted to very little at the time. And speaking of time, isn't it very interesting in retrospect that Rayleigh was the one who decided exactly how long Luffy and the Straw Hats were going to train during the time skip? He conjured that seemingly arbitrary 2-year number. You know, it's almost as if he was quite purposely setting them up to be in the right place at the right time, but you know, that's just me being a conspiracy theorist. So we're going to add time sensitive to the checklist. In addition to that, we're also getting pretty distinct here, because according to everything we know, the treasure at Laugh Tale is also person sensitive. Not only does it need to be found at a specific time, but it also needs to be acquired by a certain person. And this is a hint that was dropped as early as the Reverse Mountain arc, with Crocus's sneaky little soliloquy as the Straw Hats sail away. Could that be the bunch of pirates we've been waiting for all this time? That boy has a strange air about him. Eh, Roger? Whitebeard's final words during the Paramount War also add to this when he states, "You're not him. The man Roger is waiting for is definitely not you, Teach, you pungent son of a I mean, I may have made that last bit up, but the point still stands. And it would not be until the Wano arc that we were finally given a specific idea of who this is, as according to Odin's journal, until this point, there was a purpose to this country, referring to Wano, being closed. We must open its ports before the day the Joy Boy appears. So we're going to add specific person to the checklist. But when this time-sensitive vast value is found by that certain person, well, what's going to happen then? Well, courtesy once again of one Edward Newgate, we understand the effect that the Laugh-Tale treasure is going to have. I'm not interested in the treasure, but when it's found, the whole world will be turned upside down. Someone will find it. That day will come. The One Piece does exist. Which, looking back on it, is quite an amazing statement, because Whitebeard is confident in both the idea of a specific person and a specific time. He knows that time will come, and whatever the Laugh-Tale treasure is, it's going to heavily disrupt the established order of the world. So we're going to add turn world upside down onto the checklist. And man, that's like a lot of things, and yet we're still missing one of the most important parts. Whatever the treasure is, it is outrageously hilarious. So much so that an entire pirate crew broke down into fits of laughter. If the One Piece were a you laugh, you lose challenge, then the entire world would probably fail. So I guess we'll go ahead and add funny to the checklist. All of a sudden, we know a pretty disgusting amount about the Laugh-Tale treasure. It's something of value with its very existence set to turn the world upside down, which can only be found at a specific time by a specific person, and it's also great at cracking jokes. But with this, we can eliminate a lot of basic thoughts. Immediately, it cannot be a standard treasure. Anything with a monetary value could be used by any person at any time. The same thing likely goes for anyone who believes that the One Piece is an ancient weapon or any other kind of weapon, because they could also more than likely be used by anyone at any time. And also, weapons are like notoriously unfunny. To illustrate, here is a randomly chosen weapon joke from Upjoke. What is Ant-Man's secret weapon? His thorax. Thorax? What? All right, thorax. Thorax, yeah. Cool. That is a terrible joke. It has nothing to do with ants specifically. I mean, what, every vertebrae has its own thorax? Like, any Avengers secret weapon could be a thorax. My secret weapon could be a thorax. I cannot express how disappointed I am by this weapon joke. Getting back on track though, another common idea for the Laugh-Tale treasure is information. Information is an interesting possibility because that does cover a lot of ground. The right information being spread can change the entire world, like say the truth behind the Void Century. But why would it be constrained by time or person? I mean, for example, there's really nothing that Nico Robin could do on Laugh-Tale that Kozuki Odin could not. So it's unlikely to be something as simple as, say, secret history. And I think we're going to run into very similar problems with any kind of proposed object. Now, according to vague Googling, objects account for roughly 1.1 trillion tons of existence on this planet. So rather than going through and eliminating them one by one, we're going to take a slightly different approach. How can the Laugh-Tale treasure be time sensitive? Well, we do have a very convenient potential solution to this, which is to invoke time travel. The idea would be that Toki, or a user of her Devil Fruit, sent something or someone forward in time from the Void Century, and it will only be accessible at a very specific date, which makes a lot of sense with Toki's mission. She was stated by Odin as having come from the Void Century, searching for a day when the world is overturned. Overturning the world being a pretty key part to our Laugh-Tale treasure criteria. For reasons that we are currently unaware of, Toki did not know the exact time that this object or person would appear. She would eventually find out due to Odin confirming that it would be in 20 years, but by that time it was just a little bit too late. Toki had fallen in love. She made love to a man who was like 4 times her size. Wow. Babies had spawned from said love, and thus Toki was content living on Wano. But even though this Toki idea quite perfectly satisfies the time criteria, it still wouldn't necessarily answer why the treasure needs to be found by a certain person, or why it was described as vast and very real. I mean, if the Roger Pirates landed on Laugh-Tale and just saw a message saying BRB in 800 years, lol, sure, I guess it would be both time sensitive and kind of hilarious, but at this stage it doesn't quite fulfill the other criteria. And I've got to say that at this point, I'm running out of tangible ideas for what this Laugh-Tale treasure could be. So now we're going to have to dive deep into the wanky realm of conceptualness. The reason why the treasure could be described as vast, valuable, and time-sensitive is because it may be a state rather than any kind of individual construct like a person or an object. And you've all probably heard the leading theory for this by now, but one of the most charming, enduring ideas is that One Piece refers to the planet itself. The state of the planet after tearing down the Red Line, which separates not only the 4 blue seas, but also the Grand Line and the New World. The destruction of the Red Line would quite literally transform the world into one piece. And that's also very much thematically in line with Luffy's idea of what it is to become the Pirate King, which is to be the person with the most freedom. And this world would become significantly more free should that pesky red line vanish. And this concept does tick a lot of our boxes. The planet is a vast, valuable treasure. Removing the red line would irrevocably change the world as we know it, thus overturning it. And in terms of Oda's words in the 2014 interview, this would also grant our Straw Hats a very tangible reward. For example, it would create an all-blue for Sanji, a new world to map for Nami, the final part of the true history for Robin, a chance for Frankie's ship to quite literally circumnavigate the globe with none of those red line roadblocks, and of course, a whole new level of freedom for Luffy to become the Pirate King. Look, I'll admit that it really only works for about half of the Straw Hats, but still fulfilling half of the crew's dream with this single concept, that's pretty massive. But the bigger issue is that it doesn't explicitly satisfy why this could not have been achieved in Roger's time as opposed to Luffy's era. So if anything, it could even be a fun fusion of ideas. There was something or someone sent to the future from the Void Century. That object or person is integral to destroying the red line. However, they can only be used alongside a particular person from the modern timeline, who at this point is, let's face it, almost guaranteed to be Luffy. And when the Laugh-Tale treasure is discovered, then we will have everything we need to bring the One Piece into existence. Which actually takes us back to the event that kicked off the series, Roger's execution. During that time, Roger was described by his former first mate Rayleigh as it looks like he had a plan, though he had no future. But those two things can be quite the combination. Roger's fatal disease ensured that he would not see the day marked by the treasure on Laugh-Tale, so he turned himself over to the Marines, and this was done to create a global spectacle, because there was an entire planet of people out there, some of which had yet to be born. So Roger needed to leave a message loud enough that it would transcend his life and reach the ears of the right person at the right time. My treasure, why it's right where I left it. It's yours if you can find it, but you'll have to search the whole world. And the apt metaphor used by Rayleigh to describe the sentence was Roger turning his small flame of life into a bonfire that set the world ablaze. With this one sentence challenge, Roger ensured that his words would become loud enough to reach all ears and timeless enough to not fade into obscurity before the correct person heard them. And whether this was his intention or not, these words also adequately prepare that person for the journey ahead. Needing to search the entire world isn't just something Roger said because Laugh-Tale is super secret and hidden. This was also hinting at the poneglyphs scattered throughout the planet. It's not just about finding a single island. It's about scouring the entire world and piecing everything together just as he did. Although I should say that these famous last words by Roger are disputed, as in chapter 506, Roger's quote changes to the following: "My treasure, you can have it if you want it. Go find it. I left all the riches of the world there." And all I'm saying is that wouldn't that be very cheeky of Roger to refer to the One Piece as all of the riches of the world, when the One Piece is in fact the world itself, which obviously already contains all of its various riches. So the One Piece may not have been the friends we made along the way, but it may very well be the sum of everything we've experienced to get to this point, because only when we fully explore this world will we truly have any concept of it as one piece. And to continue that journey, here is another video, because as we've established, there is always more to learn, explore, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.